G'day there guys, Pretend Lawyer Markee here, back at it again with another episode of r/legal advice. Now if you love me like I love you, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a like on this video, a prawn on the Barbie, and get ready for some bloody good content. Posted by user Garbage Throwaway 207, titled, ME, Hookup has reported me to police, who have gone through my work. Now, this is an ongoing issue. Last week, I started talking to a person on a dating app. After a couple of days, we met up in person, which actually, for a combination of nerves, didn't really go far. After that, there was more app messaging. They wanted to meet up again, but I wasn't sure and didn't have time. They responded angrily, called me some names, and said that if we can't have sex now, we are done. I responded, if that's the way you feel, that's the way you feel. But the behavior isn't okay. I've now been contacted by HR, my employer is one of the things they know about me, who say that they have been contacted by city police investigating gross sexual assault. I am reasonably sure that message logs will cover me legally, but I am in no position to have this cost me my employment and need to get ahead of disputing this to a level that satisfies HR sooner rather than later. I would speak to a lawyer. I would not readily hand over any messages to the police at this point. The police are attempting to gather evidence against you for a crime. Speak to a lawyer and maybe go through some sort of messages together to get an idea if you've actually done anything wrong or not. It sucks to have to spend money on a lawyer, but these are serious accusations and you need help from a professional. I know that this is going to be a stereotypical answer, but I am literally incapable of paying a lawyer right now. I've been on 4 months of reduced income, salary cuts, and increased cost of living. Not only can I not make rent this week, I'm not 100% sure that I can make it up by the end of next week. Finding and paying a lawyer to handle this is the most important expense you have right now. Evictions are on hold basically everywhere, so you have time to make up rent and you can eat ramen noodles. But you will never get another chance to quash this situation in the early stages, which you need to do immediately. Do not speak to the police without a lawyer present and advising you about what to say. At this stage, a nascent investigation with no charges filed, you are not entitled to representation by a public defender. A private, paid attorney could help nip this in the bud. But if you can't make rent, you cannot afford a private attorney. I can tell you that it could be money well spent, because with an accusation this serious, your freedom is on the line. But it's also wholly possible that the police will discover that this isn't something worth pursuing. Don't discuss the facts of your interactions with this person with anyone but an attorney. Statements that you make to virtually anyone else, including your HR department, are not privileged and confidential and can be used you in the event this investigation goes somewhere. If the police contact you, tell them that you will not speak to them. If the worst happens and you are arrested, say nothing except you are invoking your right to remain silent and want an attorney. OP says, being charged with a felony, conviction or not, is grounds for my immediate dismissal. If I were to be charged, I have a reasonable belief that the evidence I have on hand covers me, but that this is already getting pretty deep into the worst case for me. I'm just trying to figure out the best course of action to not lose my job and my apartment over all of this. I'd ask friends and family for money then. If the police do reach out to you, they will likely try to get a post-Miranda statement from you that amounts to a confession to some crime before charging you, and you don't want to give them that. It'll suck to not tell your family the details of what's happening here while asking for money, but it really is never wise to speak to the police without an attorney. Even very smart people are poor advocates for themselves and will make incriminating statements without an attorney present. Even innocent people can make incriminating statements when they don't have the advice and assistance of an attorney. Update: Hookup reported me to the police. The day of my original post, I continued to receive messages from the person, none referencing the police or any issues. It was actually more being rather aggressive and abusive about meeting up again. I also started calling about criminal defense lawyers. This is why I'm making this post. I called 4 local criminal defense officers. One advised that they would be able to take me on an immediate basis, which seems odd for criminal defense, but these are strange times. 3 set-up times the next day to go over matters, 2 via Zoom and 1 in person. The first Zoom meeting covered the basics of events and what evidence I had in my favor. It was roughly 20 minutes, at which point I was quoted a rate of $450 an hour, with an expected minimum of 3 hours. As I don't have $1,350 to clear my name, I told them that I was still consulting with other offices and would get back to them. The second Zoom call ended up double booked with the job interview. Apparently, they only set up 1 Zoom account for the entire office. I gave a brief, around 5-minute rundown of the events, and the lawyer entered into a story of how they proceeded with a previous client from start to finish. I was a bit taken aback, and asked how they thought, in my case, to immediately proceed, to which he said doing an in-depth interview and setting up a polygraph for myself. That seemed fairly odd, so I decided to push through and ask what rates would be. At this point, he said that he wouldn't be discussing rates because I hadn't given him the go-ahead that we would be proceeding together. At that point, he effectively said that he didn't think we would be a good match and that I would not be taken on. Question: is it standard, normal, or whatever for lawyers to refuse to discuss rates at this stage? The third meeting was a set in person. I met at the office, we went in, spent about 30 minutes going over events and evidence. He had recently finished a case involving the same detective, and alluded to her being particularly aggressive in investigations. Early in the meeting, he made a brief call to the detective to confirm where things stood, and eventually he made a call to dictate events as I had told him. So to jump back in the time to that morning, I had received another call from the detective. I advised her that while I was eager to have this issue cleared, it was potentially very serious, and I was seeking legal counsel that day. I did get out of her additional details from my hookup, which included someone I had not met, that 2 kits had been done after both events, that they had a history of mental illness and making false statements. I was repeatedly advised not to waste my money on a lawyer, to which I responded that considering the seriousness, I did not feel comfortable proceeding without covering everything completely. The only information I provided was in response to a comment about the particular kit, and that I would be in trouble if I claimed nothing happened and they found semen. I truthfully responded, "You will not," as no form of penetration, let alone ejaculation, happened. Jumping forward again, there was a roughly 20-minute phone call with the detective. I clarified 1 or 2 questions from the detective. My lawyer asked the detective if matters were done, which the detective confirmed. As this had rather escalated with my HR department, the detective offered to confirm via phone and writing that there was no suspicion of crimes and no charges would be made. I commented that I would greatly appreciate that, as this had directly risked my job and I needed that issue closed sooner rather than later. My lawyer billed me for an hour, $375, which I'm getting to in the next week. After I left the legal office, I called my head of HR to confirm that everything was taken care of. I then also called my colleague, technically manager, who was only aware that something serious involving HR happened, and in disclosure with him, had a bit of a nervous laugh together over the whole thing. I've also opened a support ticket with the dating app to have their account suspended, as this is apparently a pathological issue on their part. Thanks to the couple of people on the original post who offered advice beyond basic knowledge, as well as those who granted me a sanity check on my behavior. Screw you to the people PMing me about how I shouldn't drop the soap and the like. Hopefully these 2 posts will give some info for people moving forward. Mods, if this could at least be briefly left open so that I could have my above question responded to for further use and general knowledge. I am not a lawyer, but a lawyer has the ability to discuss pay whenever he feels like it. Don't take it personally. Who knows why he didn't discuss it with you then? But I'd take it as a sign that another attorney is better meant for your case situation. So I guess what I'm asking is, should a lawyer looking for agreement for services before payment for services be seen as bad? It flagged as bad for me because requirements of essentially contractual basis seemed weird and borderline on illegal to me. I'm sure they get many people shopping around for quotes. I don't find it unreasonable not to discuss rates until you want to work with that lawyer with certainty. Another lawyer may do it differently and give rates up front. Like the mod said, there is really no standard. How do you know if you want to work with them though, if you don't know their rates? You tell them, I won't work with you until you give me your rates. If they don't, you go somewhere else. Whereas someone else may walk in, like the attorney's work, and want to work with them regardless of price. It's like buying a car. No real rules or methodology in giving out prices. Posted by user FTT Throwaway 123. Titled, A local business owner attacked a woman with a drill near her groin. How is this not a crime? How can she make him pay her expenses for this injury? A family member of mine was inside a bar with friends over the weekend. The bar owner jokingly took a power drill, thrust it towards her groin, and drilled into her upper thigh. It broke skin, burned her flesh, and the hospital told her it did nerve damage. The wound has gotten worse and required a second and third emergency room visits and seems to be developing an abscess. She has been referred to the burn unit and has already missed 2 days of work for this. She tried to file a police report the next day, but for some inexplicable reason, the officer didn't seem to think that this was a crime when she told him she wanted to press charges. He told her, because alcohol was involved, the owner was sober, there wasn't much they could do? The officer declined to see her wound, or even a photo of it. He went and spoke to the business owner, who apparently admitted it, and told him he would pay her medical bills, and that she is banned from the bar. She obviously had no intention of ever returning. Another bartender and customer who witnessed the incident also gave statements to police confirming that he did continue to advance towards her with the drill while she screamed and tried to get away. I want to know 2 things. 1, is there anything that can be done about pressing charges against this man? He has been charged in the past for harassing women, if that matters. 2, how can she get him to pay her medical bills and time off work? He told the officer he would, but she has little faith that he will. Does she need an attorney? Edited to add, this occurred in Wisconsin. Tell your family member to get a personal injury attorney to coordinate both the criminal and civil avenues. The cop who brushed her off is not the last stop, but having an attorney dramatically increases her odds of a favorable outcome. These injuries may be covered by his commercial insurance policy, although the insurance company may deny the claims because a reasonable person would not act with such negligence, in which case you would sue him in civil court. Usually attorneys are willing to take a percentage of the final settlement. That person sounds unhinged and possibly dangerous too, so you may want to consider a PPO, which your attorney can file. Update: Local business owner attacks woman with power drill to groin. How is this not a crime? So, basically, almost 2 years ago, my family member was attacked with a power drill by a bar owner. He was trying to flirt with her, and she was not interested, and then jokingly thrust a power drill into her genital area. She pushed his hand away, and so he drilled through her jeans into her inner thigh instead. Instead of immediately stopping, he continued drilling, and the drill bit penetrated her jeans, penetrated her skin, and also burned her badly enough to require treatment from the burn clinic and caused nerve damage. She got an infection from the wound as well. Pics are on the old post, but I am not showing those on this channel, it is grim. The nurses at the hospital had encouraged her to report the incident to the police, and she did the next day, especially because there were numerous witnesses present for this entire incident who were horrified and wanted to make a statement. Now for the update. Out of the blue in early 2020, my cousin gets a phone call from an FBI agent. I don't know how this works, but apparently our local PD has an FBI agent who comes in a couple of days a week and works on or reviews stuff. Anyways, the bar owner was being investigated for separate, unrelated sex crimes, and the FBI agent came across the report my cousin had made against him. She asked my cousin what had happened, and she told her. The agent was shocked and appalled, she said, because none of that was in the officer's police report. Nothing whatsoever about this guy taking a power drill to her groin. She told the FBI lady that she had very thorough documentation, pictures, and medical records from this incident, as well as a dozen witnesses, and the agent had her send it all to her and set up a meeting the following week to discuss. When they sat down the following week, she told her that what had happened to her was most definitely a crime, possibly even a sex crime. The witness confirmed her account and were willing to testify in court. The officer who had blown her off was reprimanded and disciplined for his inaction, and tried to defend himself by claiming, "I didn't know her wound was that bad." To which the FBI agent asked him, "Why did you refuse to look at her wound or pictures of it?" Anyways, the FBI lady took this case to the district attorney, who agreed to file charges. The bar owner has since been arrested and charged with the following: second-degree reckless injury, felony; fourth-degree sexual assault, misdemeanor; disorderly conduct, misdemeanor; 4 fourth-degree sexual assault misdemeanors; and stalking, felony. Isn't it a bit crazy that sexual assault at the 4th degree is only a misdemeanor, but stalking is a felony? But I guess so. His tavern license was revoked, his bar was shut down, and has since been sold. The case is delayed due to the pandemic, but they did arrest and charge him finally. This guy also sexually assaulted other women, both before and after this incident. He has prior disorderly conduct convictions and many restraining orders from women against him. These other charges included allegedly cornering a female bartender and demanding she give him oral sex, at which point she just ran screaming out of the place. He also violently cornered and groped another female bartender and then stalked her mercilessly, smashing out her windows, slashed her tires, etc., until he was finally caught on video stalking her. It never sat well with me that the police blew this off, especially knowing his prior history and hearing stories about him abusing other women. Obviously, this guy was escalating, probably because he never faced consequences for his actions before. I'm glad to say he will face justice for his crimes, thanks to the actions of this FBI agent. Posted by user HobbyAdvice912012, titled, New York, UPS dumped around $10,000 worth of product in front of my store at 10 p.m. on a Friday night, long after it was closed, over a week ago. My supplier is blaming UPS is blaming me and refusing to do anything. What can I do? I run a hobby shop in New York State. I have a supplier who I have worked with for years who typically sends me products via UPS. UPS has been massively delayed due to the pandemic. I went from getting orders multiple times a week to basically almost nothing for the last 8 weeks. I had nearly 100 packages sitting in UPS distribution center. Some of them have been forever stuck in the state of out of delivery for weeks now, to things basically entering the black hole of the local distribution center weeks ago with no updates. This hurt my business pretty bad, which was already suffering due to the Voldemort who shall not be named, as a lot of this was items people had either prepaid or waiting for me to get my hands on. On June 26th, when I was more or less in bed, I suddenly got a slew of delivery notifications from UPS at around 10 p.m. Since I live a good 45 minutes away from my store, I freaked out, and by the time I managed to get there, the stuff delivered had been taken. I checked the CCTV for my store entrance, and probably 10 minutes after UPS dumped the packages, some people came by and picked up all the items and took off. I made a police report and passed it along to UPS as they had completely screwed up. On Friday, I got an update and UPS had closed all my claims, stating that it was signed for. The signature was basically the word, it's the Voldemort going round, which from my understanding is UPS not requiring signatures due to said Voldemort. The following blame is going around in a circle. My supplier is blaming UPS and how it isn't their fault and tells me they fulfilled their obligation and I need to contact UPS. My supplier doesn't have any more of some of the products, so I can't actually fulfill many people's orders now. UPS is putting the blame on me, stating that it was signed for and is refusing to discuss it more. Am I able to do anything? Save the footage. That's your proof the packages were not signed for. You are going to have to lawyer up and go against UPS, since this cannot be solved via customer service any longer. They say, I have it saved on the cloud and passed along a copy of this footage to the supplier, and sent a link to an online hosted version of the video as part of my claim with UPS. Have a copy on your computer and not just on the cloud. The footage will be the basis of your case, and you want to do everything to protect it. Isn't the supplier the one responsible? UPS is hired by them to make their deliveries. The product OP purchased was never delivered to them, so it is the supplier's fault. OP can go after the supplier for a refund, then it's up to the supplier to go after UPS for any losses caused by their services. Not a lawyer, worked in logistics. UPS is responsible full stop. Falls under damaged, lost, or stolen. However, if you slapped fragile on the side of a package and it gets damaged, you already admitted it was likely to be damaged because it's fragile. However, since it was delivered to a business and it's after hours, it physically cannot be delivered, regardless of signature. Again, falls on UPS, OP's insurance might actually cover this as well, and they would go after UPS. That saves OP the time of getting their own lawyer. Calling either, though, would be a good way to get the ball rolling. I think someone just doesn't want to do all the claims, since it was a bunch and it's high dollar. OP, I work for UPS. I process damaged packages in a hub, and I know that when something happens to a package, we always reimburse the shipper and not the receiver. Then it becomes the shipper's responsibility to either reimburse the buyer or send a new shipment. It could be different since the items were marked as delivered, but I'm pretty sure that the shipper would be the one that deals with UPS paying them for the merchandise. Update: UPS dumped around $10,000 worth of product in front of my store at 10 AM on a Friday night. What can I do? So after talking to a lawyer, he wrote a strongly worded letter to my supplier, basically outlining that they are responsible for losses incurred during shipping, FOB shipping. My supplier has changed their tune drastically after that letter and refunded me. Unfortunately, they have decided to no longer do business with me anymore, which hurts a lot. UPS, however, is still a complete and utter mess, but someone told me to send it to a local UPS store via UPS My Choice, which actually worked for some packages, while others seem to be stuck in internal limbo and are just not moving. Anyways, with my lease renewal coming up, I have more or less just decided to start winding down operations in the coming months and plan to close the store by the end of the year. This isn't a happy ending, but between the Voldemort, this screw up, and having issues getting products my customers want, I simply would rather just wind things down rather than trying to keep something going that isn't profitable. Thank you for your advice and help though. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something that you didn't know before. If you haven't already, please do feel free to click that like button, as it really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't already and you love today's video, please feel free to subscribe. I would love it a lot. Also, big shout out to all my Patreon members and channel subscribers. You guys are all up on the screen right now. I love you. I love your faces. Also, I love seeing you guys all chatting down below in the comments. It brightens my day to see the stories that you guys share and just the kind words you guys always have for my videos, as well as everyone else in the videos. I love you too. But honestly, your ongoing support means the world to me, and I just love it so much that you guys are able to support a career for myself that I invest so much time into. And you guys honestly motivate me to work harder each and every day to put more love into the videos for you guys. If you guys have watched this far in the video and you haven't already subscribed on Patreon or become a channel member, that's cool, you don't have to, but there are links down below. You can donate any amount of money, pledge that any month, cancel whenever. I'm completely cool with it. It's just there for you to support me if you'd like to go the extra mile. And I'll go the extra mile for you guys by putting out new amazing content every single day. With that said guys, I really hope you have a good day, night, sleep, bath, time at work, whatever you're up to today. This has been Markee. I'll see you in the next amazing video. Bye.